Ready? Countdown?
Yep.
All right, ready?
You ready?
Okay,
I'm ready.
Okay, ready? Yeah, let's go.
I'm always drowning naked, and all I could see was missing your facing. How does one's on time?
3, 2, 1. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to your favorite podcast from the ground up. Here we have season 3, episode 3. Just to have a little quick intro. Here we have myself, Bells, aka the Golden Wheelchair, aka your favorite pirate, aka shout out to Capiso.
Let's go. What's up, everyone? It's your girl, Nivs, a.k.a. your girl.
Yeah.
Let's go. We will get better at that. a.k.a. I got no a.k.a.s, but here I am.
And what's up, bitches? It is the best and highly favored Mihaka, a.k.a. the Lunar Kid, Double D's, a.k.a. Mr. I ain't gonna fucking a.k.a.
Wait, hard.
a.k.a. Mr. I'm just gonna stop because, bitch, I'm getting fucking tired. But before we introduce our new guests, we just want to give a shout out to our sponsors and where we're located and recording today, which is Greater West Barbers.
Let's go.
Ooh, shout outs.
Located in Western Sydney, Ropes Crossing. So if you need a fresh cut, I'll cut you.
Shout out to Tevin.
Oh, shout out to Tevin.
But yes, so we have a very, very special guest today. You may know her from TikTok. You may know her from Instagram. You may know her from her podcast. You may know her from YouTube. You may know her from just being a gorgeous being.
You make me blush.
We have AJ.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Big bad AJ in the house, point blank, period, bitch.
Yes, we love that energy.
Yes, we do.
So excited to be here, guys. Thank you for having me. This is my first ever little podcast collab. So excited.
We like that.
We are honored.
privileged.
Yeah.
No, thank you for coming. We appreciate it. It's exciting. Our first activist on here.
Yeah.
So it's real good.
Yes,
Okay,
and
let's
we've always wanted like a First Nations Aboriginal representative on our channel, on our podcast. So I'm so glad that it's you.
Yeah.
So
Gotta
glad.
represent for the OGs.
So would you like to introduce yourself to our audience
For
and people
sure.
that don't know you?
Yeah, so I would like to start off, I guess, with my tribes. So for First Nations people, it's really important that we kind of state where our tribes are from. So I'm a Barkindji, Lachi, Birragubbi and Waka Waka woman. So my mum is from Queensland and my dad is New South Wales. So I cannot date anyone that is Indigenous because I'm sure we're related. I'm related to everybody. But yeah, and I'm a mum. So I'm a single mum of a 4-year-old and just have channeled social media as a way to talk about like my lived experience and most importantly shed light on what Indigenous people are going through in this country and you know, put a bit of humour in there because we've got to laugh.
Yeah.
My mother always says if we don't laugh we'll start crying, so
She's not wrong.
yeah, she's not wrong.
You don't want any tears on here today.
Not yet.
Unless someone walks in and we roast them.
I'm here for it.
Should we roast the camera girls?
Oh my god. As long as it's not me, I don't care.
I think we think the same. But yes, where do we start?
I know, that's the thing. Like, I think with an awesome collab like this, there's so many different areas and things to touch on. But I'm here for it. I'm an open book today. So ask away, guys. Feel free.
I just wanted to ask, have you always felt so strongly on kind of sharing the knowledge and kind of the history of your culture?
Yeah, I think that's such an amazing question and an important one. And I feel like, again, for First Nations people and being kind of Aboriginal in this country, you automatically have to kind of have thicker skin, but you have to stand up for yourself, you know, because we get so much racism in this country, like since we're children. So it's really, really sad. And I'm sure you guys as people of colour as well can relate. But since we're like literal children, we get the racism, but also the stereotypes and kind of like oppressive attitudes. So I was lucky enough that I felt comfortable. I've always felt confident and strong to use my voice. But it gets really interesting because growing up, my sister sister was very quiet. So my sister was like, not a mute, but she was low-key a mute. So I kind of spoke for the both of us. So that's how my advocacy started, because I understood that all people have different personalities, and I've been blessed that I feel confident enough to talk about and stand up. So I've been doing it for a while, and I do want to recognize that for everyone. I guess speaking openly is not always comfortable, but I do want to say, guys, it's so important. So whatever you're going through in life, if you feel like I don't have a personality type that makes me feel like I'm confident, you know, you'll find your way, you know, because you have to stand up for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%.
Love that.
Yeah,
Especially in the... Oh, go.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, no, you go.
Okay, no. Yeah, was that instilled by your parents, or was it just like a naturally from growing up in this society, like that kind of racist vibe or that little shady, you know what I mean? So that kind of automatically brought it out, or your parents always taught you?
Again, that's such an amazing question, and it's so important. And again, I feel like for First Nations people, like people of color, or if you are from a different religious or racial minority, but for me, I was always very lucky. Both my parents are Aboriginal, so they always raised me to stand up for myself. But I watch them, you know, so I watch them. If someone is like looking at us the funny way, or someone's mistreating my mum or my dad, but also back in their days it was a lot tougher. So back when they were growing up in the 70s or the 60s, not the 60s, my mum will come for me, the 70s, mum, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, it was different, you know, like there wasn't things like, the anti-racial, you know, collective, or there wasn't even Racial Discrimination Act in those days. So people were just slanging off. They were just saying whatever the hell they wanted. So I grew up watching my parents kind of always defend themselves, but also not. So I also saw my parents a lot of the time, if someone says something and they're in an unsafe environment, just be like, you know, I'm brushing it off. We've got our 2 daughters. We need to get them home. We need to get them safe.
That would be so hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
It's so hard. It is so hard, and that's the thing. We're always stereotyped. Aboriginal people are always stereotyped as being like crazy and violent. But it's like, if you knew how many times a day that I'm tested and tried, and again, just watching my parents be like, "You're not worth it. Like you're just a racist," or you know, we call them rednecks. Like you're just a redneck. Like you're not worth it.
You're not getting this energy today, bye.
God damn it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, would you say you get a lot of criticism from your own kind, like your own people as well?
Again, that is such an amazing question. And as I've gone online, so that's the other thing, guys, like my social media experience is very, very new. So I'm like very private. Both my parents are private. And this is a really important concept for Indigenous people in Australia, because we weren't able to be private. So we had like the government or welfare. They were able to come into our homes and do like cleaning checks and like check your children, just like knock on your door whenever they felt like it. The police to these days will bust open doors, do a raid. I'm looking for such and such, and there's no connection to that person being in the house. Like I'm sure you guys relate. Like there's no connection. There's no relevancy of them coming to search your home or look for someone for an arrest warrant. But these, you know, ways that the government constantly, you know, does not allow us to have privacy has made my privacy so much more important, if that makes sense. Because my mum, when she was growing up, and a lot of other Indigenous people as well, grew up on a place called a mission. So they were forced to live on a area of land. They weren't able to leave.
No way.
Wow.
I did not even know that.
And like I said, my mum's just turned 50, so she's 51 this year. And they were able to leave at her time, I believe, but her older siblings, like you had to have a card, you had to have permission, you had to have a slip.
Whereabouts was this?
This is Sherbrooke. So this is Queensland. So she's like 3 hours out of Brisbane.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone from Sherbrooke, Sherbrooke Hornets. What's happening, Birragubby, Waka Waka? How can I help you? I know who I am, honey. But you know what I mean? Like, so it's just history, and it does impact us every bloody day. And I'm sick and tired of people like, oh, it doesn't affect you. I was like, has that happened to you?
Yeah.
I don't think so. No. You will know. So I've always loved being private. Like to this day, whatever I put on social media, whatever I say, I always think about it like 3 or 4 times before. And like before we kicked off here, like you guys saw me just like kind of chill and get in my right mindset, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it is.
I was like, headset.
It's all good, we get it.
But yeah, I'm always thinking about what I'm saying, because my privacy is so important to me. And I think, again, with anyone listening to this podcast, and I guess even you guys, like exploring your own journey, always protect those sacred things to you. Like always protect the most important things. Because you can have a scroll on my feed, honey, but you don't know me.
Yeah.
You may think you do. You may see me in a pretty dress, bitch, but you don't know me, you know?
Yeah, you post what you allow them to see.
Yeah, it's so important. And again, for First Nations people, everyone just takes us at first value. Oh, you're black. Oh, you're Aboriginal. You're a coon. You're whatever the hell they want to call you. That has affected me in a way that now I'm like, you don't know me. You don't know a damn thing about me. You don't know who I am.
I love your energy.
Oh, yeah, I was about to
I
say
just sit here and just listen to you.
Stop it.
I didn't even want to interview. I just want to leave you
Stop
talk.
it. I'm loving it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so going back to when you were saying how your parents stayed silent in some of those areas in life, did you ever go home and have a talk about that as a family, or did it just come to you later on, like, wow, this is what happened? They stayed silent to keep our safety.
That's such a good question. And again, guys, I call anyone that's listening to this, and even you guys as well, think about your own lived experience, because for Aboriginal people in this country, we're like always pushed in our own category, and you'll see it. Like, you sign a form, and do you identify as Aboriginal? You'll, go get your bloody license. Do you identify as Aboriginal? Like, we're always in our own category, and that is a initiative, or that's a thing that has been done by the government to kind of keep us as separate from everybody else. So in saying that, whenever I guess you are yarning or getting to know an Indigenous person, think about your own experience and try to mesh that together, because like a lot of people, my parents didn't talk about that stuff. Like they didn't get into like racism and you are Indigenous and this is what we go through and you have to know. It was just really organic. And I think that's the case for a lot of other First Nations people, where we just watch and learn, if that makes sense. And because it's painful, like even myself now having an Indigenous child, and if I have more, and if I have a son, I have to always think about his own journey, or my daughter's own journey in life, and how she's going to pick up her own lessons, because if you're filling your child with what society thinks about them or white people think about them, what type of childhood is that?
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Oh,
Great answer.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my
Shoot
God.
out and
Thank you.
I
I
love it.
I love the question, so I'm here for it. I definitely don't hear any crickets, thank God.
No crickets.
Well, not yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Not until we run out of questions to ask.
But what about you guys? So that's my question. Like, have you guys had any like racial experiences growing up, or were you like in a community that was open to your cultures, even differences, like cultural differences? Like, how have you guys navigated that? And I have another question to tie into that, because this area is known for being multicultural, lots of different races. But I guess once you go into other areas of Sydney, how is your experience?
Wow.
I know.
Yeah,
Wow.
I want to hear it. I want to hear from each one of you.
Oh, shit. All right, you go first. Men first.
Yeah, so I grew up in New Zealand. I moved here, went to Brisbane, but I was real young. But growing up in Sydney, I first grew up like Cabramatta, Liverpool, and that was like real out of pocket for me. Only because like every school I went to was probably like 5 islanders or less throughout the whole school.
Yeah.
So I always kind of didn't fit in. As soon as I came here, like I was so happy. Like I felt like at home, and like the culture is so strong here, where everyone embraces each other.
So powerful.
Everyone realizes we're all in the same like circumstances, so everyone's kind of just respectful, and like we understand, we struggle together. So it's beautiful coming out here.
So powerful.
You're
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was really good.
Okay, I guess I'm next.
Yes.
I would say, like, I wasn't born, like, in Mount Druitt, but I was born in Auburn, hey. And then, obviously, I moved out here. I think mine's kind of similar, because it is so multicultural here. Like, it was kind of easy to kind of grow up here. But then going out of the west of Sydney, like, I used to work at the airport, and I remember talking to someone about Red Lee, and they didn't know what it was. And I I was like, how could you not know what Red Lee chicken is? Like, everyone knows
I was
it.
about to say, I'm in Bankstown, and I know what time it is.
Right? Like, I was amazed, and I was like, I went to one of my other friends who was from Western Sydney. I was like, is Redley like a Western Sydney thing? And I was like, I think it is, because no one around me knew what Redley was. Anyways, back to another story that happened the other day. There was a fire that was on across my street. I literally got racial profiled from walking up to a police officer to tell them that there was another fire going on down the road. And as soon as I got out of my car, I knew, like, you could feel that energy. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I said what I said, and then they said, oh, just go inside your car. We need to talk to you. And I was like, bitch. I am not the one. I literally live right there. Like, I'm the one who rang the fucking fire brigade. Like, yeah. And then I was questioned. Like, as soon as I sat in the car, they're like, so what were you doing driving around at this time of night? And I'm like, I live right there.
He just left my house. That's why he's going. And then he seen a fire. And then he called.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I was like, I literally live right there. Like, I'm allowed to drive around these streets at any time of night. Thank you.
What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Because, bitch, there was 3 places on fire around my house. Yeah, anyways. And then once I explained that I was the one that called, they dropped everything. They're like, oh, sorry, you just fit the profile of who they were looking for. And I was like, oh, so were they gay? I bet they weren't. Yeah. And then they just walked off, and I was like,
did you get his badge number?
Oh, my God.
I didn't care.
Yeah. I would be like,
screenshot.
I would be like, excuse me. Talk to me like that.
I should have, but bitch.
Oh, my gosh, that's so traumatic.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So it shows even like within your community, you're
Crazy,
still ostracized, or you're like still have to deal with like.
Yeah, even though I feel comfortable in this community, I can still feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Going off that, so I've always with my turn. So I've always grown up in Mount Druitt, but a few weeks back, I took my nieces and nephews out for their school holidays.
Yes.
Like, I was like, you know what, they were just being too loud in the house. I was like, let's go for a walk, let's go to the park. So we went to the park just down the road from here, and they were running around, like, just being kids, you know. And this man comes out, and he doesn't see me, but he sees the kids. And then he starts going off at them, and he's like, go home, what are you doing here, making noise, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hold on a second, like, excuse me, don't talk to my kids like that. Only I can speak to them like that. And then I walked over, and I was like, oh, hey, what's the issue, you know? And then he, like, I can hear his wife from their house, because they lived across the road. She's like, go back to where you came from, And I was like, you know what, I have my kids here, like, my nieces, my nephews, like, I'll just shush, like, because I didn't want to, like, you know, have an argue while they're there, And then I was saying to him, like, if you have an issue, you come find an adult. You don't yell at the kids. I'm like, you don't even know these kids.
Exactly.
And then I was like, they're younger than 13, all of them. And then I was like, come find an adult. If you came to me, I would have, like, told them, you know, okay, respect, like, you know. But because he just started yelling, I was like, you know what, you just go back out there and you just play. And then, like, they literally went inside, grabbed their dog, and then came, stood at the front, and the wife was still yelling, like, and I was like, ignore her. And then, like, I spoke to my nieces and my nephews when I got home, and I told them, like, you know, people like that, like, I was like, because they're older, I'm like, just ignore them, like, don't, because I was about to lose my temper, and I was waiting for the police, because they're like, I'm going to call the cops. I was like, I sat there for a good 2 hours waiting for the police to come. I was like, we're not going home. Yeah, and I was like so shocked, and then I went online and had a rant. And then them two came and seen me.
That's fantastic.
So I was just like crazy, like, we live here and they're telling us to go back. I'm like, to where we, I'm like, go back inside your house.
I know. Go back to where you come from.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
white people. White
This is
people.
not your land.
Next time, call me, honey. I'll be there.
That's so funny. When she was telling me about that story, I literally was like, oh my God, AJ needs to know about this.
No, it's so disgusting.
It
Like
is.
the fact each and every one of you, I'm sure, and even the people in the room with us now, and I'm sure the people watching this will be able to talk about a specific moment where they were othered, when they were like, go back to where you come from. You don't belong here. Like, that is white supremacy. Like, the fact that they feel like they can say that to anyone and everybody. It's just like, I've been told to go back to where I come from. I'm like, where? The creator God? Like, sorry, like 65,000 years years, honey, plus.
Yes.
Okay, do the math.
Represent.
Yes.
Yes.
But it's just tragic. And those stories, like the moment where people of colour in this country sit down and yarn and be like, you know what, that happened to me. That's happened to me. Or even that has not happened to me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's happening to you. That is how we're going to dismantle like white supremacy. That is how we're going to break it down. But as long as we're kind of pinned up against each other, as long as it's like brown people here or black or Aboriginals here or, you know, Melanesians and then you have Polynesians, like once we're all divided by this, you know, white man constructs, we're not going to be able to come together and break that down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love
Oh
the
my
way
gosh.
you break things
Stop
down,
it.
honestly.
Well, I'm a thinker. She's been thinking.
I'm like,
for a while.
I'm learning this whole thing.
Yeah.
I am learning.
So powerful.
Yes, we all are. Can we just say that, like, us three were very, very nervous about
I was
this.
nervous.
No.
I was telling
I was
him,
so
I was
nervous.
like, I am just gonna stay quiet and just listen, because I was like, oh my gosh, you're so, like the way you speak is so good. I'm like,
so
I cannot
much.
talk like that.
Thank you. That's so kind of you to say that. Thank you, guys.
And we know how important this conversation is.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was like just overthink, you don't want to say the wrong thing. And we've been waiting for this opportunity. So
Since
it's,
season
you know what I
one.
mean? It's a bit
Yeah.
nerve-wracking at the same
Exciting.
time.
And like I said, guys, what you're feeling right now is how a lot of Australians or like a lot of other people of colour feel. I don't want to offend Aboriginal people, or I don't want to bring a topic up, or even sometimes people are like, oh, that's too hard. You know, that's too hard to talk about conflicts between races or lived experience or the police. But these conversations have to happen, and the bravery of you guys to invite a First Nations woman, and a loud one, and a proud one, and a big one, big back AJ bitch, to have me in his face. That's bravery, because it's not easy, you know. And that's what white people love to do, is make me the problem, you know, make me the issue. Like, she's too much,
She's
like,
too loud. She's too out there. Like, you know,
too scary.
Yeah.
Right,
And
so-
it's like, no, let's do this.
Yes, I'm so here for it. And I would also like to say I've been really blessed. So I have a large family. My mom has 7 sisters, so I have a whole bunch of cousins. And we have all different ethnicities in my family. So
beautiful.
my lived experience, I understand, you know, like Fijian culture, Tongan culture, Lebanese, all of these different races growing up, Greek. So I've been able to see the differences, but also the similarities in growing up. And me and my cousins, we've been able to really understand the importance of respecting one another. So if we go to a cultural event and it's a Catholic ceremony and it's in Tongan, or we go to an Arabic, a Catholic service and it's based in Arabic for a Lebanese faith, you know, learning just to stand there and be there in that moment, but also they have to do that for us. So when it's a blackout and we all turn up in your church, welcome us, and we are welcomed.
Yeah.
You know, it is not an issue. Like, they are not looking at us in the back of the room like, what are all those Aboriginals doing here? We're welcomed, and they'll put this service in English so we can understand, or they'll talk about universal themes in the service in church, or even within other different things like football, you know, like sitting together and yarning and all of those things, like just mutual respect, if that makes sense. So important. But
Love.
Oh my gosh, I could just like listen to
Oh,
it.
seriously? I could just seriously sit here
stop
just
it.
listen.
You're gonna make me blush. Well, ask me a question now. What's the next one? I guess I have something that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes,
So let's get
please.
into it. Let's get into race relations.
Oh yes, I was actually going to bring something up.
I think we were.
Yes.
So what do you want to bring up? Or do you want me to ask it?
You go first.
So how do we feel, how do all of you guys feel about race relations? So we do have obviously issues or rifts between other brown bodies and Indigenous bodies in this country, and I'm sure you guys may have seen it online or even in society. Like, the first thing, if there's any negative interaction, the first thing we say is someone's race, like, oh, you this, or you that, or you effing whatever, you know. Do you see the importance of talking about collaborating together? But what would your approach be to these kind of hard topics of making other people from your communities feel comfortable enough to yarn to Indigenous people, if that makes sense? What did you guys do to feel comfortable enough to yarn to me? So other people can do it.
It was alright for us because in school we grew up with, and a shout out to the older boys of the area. They're like so close. mixed races. Yeah, so even in school, like we just understood we're all the same, and the differences is a great thing because we get to experience, you know, different cultures, different their food, their families, the way they operate. So even growing up playing footy,
Yeah, it's so true.
I played with a lot of Koreas, so
Yeah.
yeah, so it's never, I don't know, I just never thought, especially when, like, if you've dealt with racism, that kind of, that makes you, you know what I mean, don't want to go down that road because you know how much it hurts. So
Yeah, it's so
yeah, we
powerful.
never, I think all of us never really, I don't know, man, I just see people as people.
Yeah. I don't see color, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So
I guess, like, that was the perks of all going to school together because we had so many different nationalities.
so powerful.
So, yeah, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, I would say it was easy.
So good. Because where I'm from, where I grew up, like in Dulwich and Marrickville, there is a lot of racial mixes, but also in saying that specific schools have more of one race.
Yeah.
So if you are like of a specific race, you'll go to that school, and then kind of all the Aboriginals went to this school. If that makes sense,
okay,
yeah. But we do have multiculturalism, but in saying that, you know, what school do you want to go to?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it should not be like that, but that's Australia. You know, like you go to that school, you know, your little enemy, like. I'll get into this. My school, where I went, I was lucky. Kind of all changed when I enrolled at my school. But earlier they were having like really negative race wars, stabbings, and just terrible things between another school. And again, guys, that is talking about the importance of collaborating, because once these two schools in these communities started working together and leaders from both communities started coming in and reshaping and recognizing as well that there are these intermarriages. So there are Aboriginal and Fijian, or Aboriginal, or, you know, Lebanese or Greek and Lebanese marriages. You know, those conversations really help put that fire out, because that fire's not lit by us, guys. No. Those fires aren't lit by us. Those fires are lit by white supremacy. You know, to pin us against each other or make us hate each other, or, you know, they're not put together, or they're a mess. That kind of stereotype, and that goes for everybody, you know, because everyone can kind of get that card, like, you guys are housers, or you're on drugs, or you're shit, you know, you're terrible parents. So recognizing that is so important, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And did you kind of want to clarify what you mean by white supremacy? Just in case people are like, I think
for sure.
talking about all white people.
Yeah. Well, not all of them. But white supremacy, guys, is just understanding the way that Australia was founded by white people from Britain. And when they colonised each and every country that they have, they made systems that put systems in place that was always going to benefit them. Yeah. So no matter what era it was, no matter what decade, no matter what war broke out, no matter what disease broke out, no matter what races would come here, they would always be on top. And you may think, what do you mean always on top? This is in relation to jobs, in relation to education, in relation to accessing resources, so going to drug rehabilitation services, and stereotypes. So they would always be stereotyped as put together, as positive, as well-rounded individuals, as safe, as, you know, attractive as well. And we were always, or people of colour are always, but especially Indigenous people, were always positioned as the opposite of that.
Always the lowest rank.
That's right, always the lowest rank, exactly right.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just another thing you kind of always hear. If you speak very well and educated, they'll be like, you speak like a white person. You know what I mean? It's like,
I need to get exactly. And I was watching an amazing TikTok video, and it was by a Pacific Islander man, and he was talking about his own experience as well, becoming educated. I wish I remembered his name off the top of my head, but if I do, I'll link it through your channel.
I think
so
I might know who it is.
Yes, and he
But
said
keep
some controversial stuff.
Oh yes.
Yes.
long hair?
Which one?
Yes.
Is that the guy we were talking about?
Yeah.
So he does say controversial, because I was scrolling and then I just stopped scrolling. So
Okay, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
But and that's what I mean. The fact that you guys know who I'm referring to talks about the connectedness of your people and your community. And white communities do not have that. No. White people can't track and trace and know who that person is in their family, or their connectedness, or their origins, or anything. And that makes them superior, because they're not held to the standards that we are. You know, they don't give a crap about what area you're from,
Yeah.
what island you're from, how long have they been here. You know,
They
it doesn't
don't.
matter. You can be here as long as you want. But back to that question about you sound like a white person. Even the way I'm talking right now, this is not the way I speak, like to my relatives, or if someone was in here Indigenous, this is not the way that I talk. So for a lot of First Nations people, we've adopted like a white way of talking, a white language, and then we also have a thing called Aboriginal English. So it's like a breakdown of our traditional languages and English. But in saying that, I've always gotten that oh, well, you're different. Oh, well, you're put together. Oh, well, your parents are different. It's like you have no idea. Again, it goes back to the privacy thing. You have absolutely no idea who I am. You have no idea about my parents, and I like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
You know, all you know is the way I present myself. And I speak like this, guys, to be crystal clear so my message can get across.
Yes,
So
I
white
love
people
that.
can't be like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, can you restate that? Can you come at that with another, like, no, bitch, I'm not coming at another angle.
Yeah.
You heard me crystal clear because we're
Yes.
tired now.
I love that.
You know, if that makes
We're
sense.
sick and tired.
Yes.
Yes.
And it happens all the time. Like,
Yeah.
even today, like, if I post something, guys, that's controversial, a 60-second video, a 40-second video, a 6.5-second video saying something about a truth about white people in this country, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Why are you so bothered?
Yeah.
Why? Why are you so bothered about a black woman? And a fat one at that, and a tall one at that. You know, why are you so worried? I know Delta Goodrum. Like, why are you worried? Or Beyonce, why are you worried about me? Like, just keep scrolling. But that goes back to white supremacy, because Indigenous people in this country are always a motherfucking problem.
Yep. Man.
Yeah, just let that breathe for a second.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Valentine's.
Yes, girl. I'm pretty sure I scared away all my Valentine's candidates. But you know what? If you're brave enough, hit me up. I'm joking. I'm done. I quit.
I'm done.
That's another story. Black dating? No. No. She's taking 2020. Let's leave her behind. She was tragic. And that was another thing, guys, like even dating online as an Aboriginal person.
Yes. How was that?
Horrendous. I have a podcast series coming when your girl is emotionally ready, because she's not. She's still traumatized. The racial degradation I got from like Tinder. So I was like, I'll try it out. Horrendous. I was like, fuck Tinder. We'll try Bumble. Bumble's like better quality. Horrendous. Racial stereotypes. Oh, well, I want to do this to you. Do you like this? I heard this about Aboriginal women. Do you, you've got a great this. Oh, I love that. Like just this hyper-sexualization, hyper-fetishization of black.
Yes.
Crazy.
I'm telling you. And then the other crazy thing was, so I don't even have that many followers, guys. Like on TikTok, I probably have like 30K. It's nothing. Like
Just 30K.
It's a light flex.
just a slight one. But you know what I mean? It's not even like I'm massive. Like I'm not like 40 or 80K followers. So I'm just like in my little 30, minding my business. So many guys would match me on Tinder or even just message me on Bumble. Oh, you're that black chick from Tinder. I mean, you're that black chick from TikTok. Or you're that abo from TikTok. I'm like, I swear to God, I wish I was lying. I have the screenshots. And that, guys, is, again, shedding light on what it's like for black women like me that just want to be like everybody else in this country. I just want to have a crack. I just want to see what it's like, test the waters. But I am constantly reminded of the white supremacy. And, guys, this is where it gets interesting, because it wasn't just white men that were saying that to me. It was men of colour. It was other racial or religious minorities in this country that were perpetuating those stereotypes. So that, again, guys, is conveying the way white supremacy is just not beneficial, or is not just based on white people. People of colour can practice that, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, like, if a person of colour thinks they're better than their race, or they think they're better than their family, or they start judging other families. These are not judging, but based on white standards. So things like money, things like houses and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that you say that.
Yeah.
I feel like I know a lot of people like that.
And I've heard a phrase in the Pacific Islander community, and it's like plastic. So you're a plastic. Like my cousin T. Don't come at me. But you know, like a plastic, so they don't like recognize. And we have other things in our language. It's like gammon. Like here's a gammon black fella. Like
Yes.
So you know what I mean? Like we know that. We ourselves as people of colour are recognising, you know what you are. No one's questioning your race. We know you're clearly one of us. But what you're practicing is a white man or a white way of living. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very common, especially growing up in Australia. You're not really educated on the whole history.
Yeah.
So they don't really understand the weight of their words. Because growing up, we never learned the history, just like little stories, books, but never on the whole genocide and what this country was built on.
It's so true.
Have you always been so educated on your history?
This is an amazing question. So for me, I was in high school and I've always defended being Aboriginal because for me and for a lot of Aboriginal people, my culture and my DNA and my religion, all of it is like just so important to me. So it's like the most important thing. It's the most sacred thing, like to my identity, if that makes sense. So I've always defended being black because I've always had to. So I've always been racially typecasted, right? But when I was in high school, I was probably about 14 or 13. I was getting just brutally at school, just brutally racially abused beyond anything you can ever imagine. I was 13 years of age, like, and you're becoming a woman, like, you know, your body is changing, and you're like, what is going on? Like, why am I hormonal all the time? Like, why am I sad? All of that stuff, you know. So I was adjusting, and it was the most vulnerable time in my life because everything was changing, and I was being abused so badly every day. One day, I just had enough. I was like, this is it. I am going to fucking drag you. If you try me, I'm going to give you everything that I have, and I'm going to shut you up, and I'm going to shut you up proper black fella way, so you know who you are, because that's the thing. If whatever racial collective you are, you have to understand you're on my country. You know, you are on Indigenous land. The reason you can enjoy the environment, enjoy the ocean, have a great life for your children, or have a great life for yourself, go to national parks, or most importantly, have a home on a beautiful plot of land, or even if it's a shit house on a plot of land. First Nations people protected that. Yes. We maintained it. We made sure we didn't destroy it. We made sure that plants and animals were able to keep continuously growing and making sure that our inhabitancy, so us living on this continent, didn't damage it. You have to respect that. Yeah. So about 13 cracked it. I was done just dragging people, but also researching. So learning and reading and talking to people in my family about the truths or things that they've went through. So I know the truth, so I can educate other people.
Yeah, because a lot of people need to be re-educated as well.
Oh, so many.
Yeah. Exactly. 100%. And I guess that's another point. Please tell me if I'm talking too much.
Oh, no.
She's a talker. She's a Virgo, so we love to communicate. We love it.
I love learning all of this. This
Thank
is so
you.
good.
And that's the biggest thing, guys. So white supremacy in this country. We don't know anything. We don't know anything about the sugarcane slavery. When Pacific Islanders were dragged over here and blackbirding. We don't know about that. We don't know about Chinese slavery. We don't know about Irish slavery. And we don't know about Indigenous slavery. We don't know nothing about the truth of this country. And that is the most scariest things that we are told. Captain Cook arrived and the settlers and then they did this. And I was like, who do you think made the railroads? Black people.
Yeah.
Who do you think made the stations? Aboriginal people. Yes. Who do you think made roads? Indigenous people. Who do you think built all these churches? These were not labourers. They were slaves. You know, you have to understand that. And our slavery went on for so long, but that's just one aspect of our degradation in this country. But once people start becoming re-educated, that is where we're able to come together. Because I can't get angry at you for not knowing. Yeah. But what I can get angry at you is for coming at me.
Yeah.
Because my mum, again, always taught me this one thing. You can think what you want to think about me, but don't say it to me. You know what I mean? I don't give a flying crap if you think I'm worthless, if you think I'm an abo, or if you think I'm a boom, whatever it is. Just don't tell me it because I want to drag you. Yes. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about white Australia. They think they have the right to tell us who we are, you know, and yourselves and your children, unfortunately, in this country, as long as white people are able to tell us what time it is, they're in a position of power, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's something I was thinking about the other day when people break the law here, they get sent to their countries. But I've never really heard of someone with, like, from England, English background get sent back.
Yes.
So this is a really, really conversation that's really heavy at my heart. So my daughter her father is from West Africa and Sierra Leone. So from my relationship with her father, I had learnt a lot about not even just African culture, but about refugees coming to this country, but the way that others are treated. So yes, I had cousins that had children with other people of colour, but until I had a child with another person of colour, I had no idea. So for example, in this country, if you are a citizen, okay, you've become a citizen, you've been a citizen for 12 years. Say something really bad happens, something really traumatic, you go down the wrong path, you start using drugs, or you just have a mental relapse and you just commit a terrible crime, you're locked up in a detention centre. They can strip you of your citizenship.
No way.
Yeah.
Citizenship and permanent residency can be taken off you. Why? Why are you giving people a citizenship in this country?
And then stripping it.
And why are they people of colour?
Why can't you do it to the people that colonize this country?
Why can't you do it to the British? And why does it have to be people from third world countries?
Yes.
Don't you think they need to be here the most? Don't you think they need to be here more than the South Africans?
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the white South Africans. See what I mean? I have to be clear. I have to be clear because they say, I'm from South Africa. No, but you're a white person from South Africa.
Yeah,
no, but you're
different.
a white person from New Zealand. It's different. There's layers to
Yeah.
this. And even statistically, if you look at detention centres and people's countries
The
of origins,
numbers are so high. Yeah.
and in crimes in this country. So white people committing crimes or people that look white. Okay, let's get into that. People that can kind of fall under the bridge. So if you're from Eastern Europe or if you're from other countries like New Zealand, but you look like a white person,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah.
The judge will slap you on the wrist. We'll give you bond. You can have good behaviour. Statistically, people of colour and especially Indigenous people in this country, predominantly Indigenous people, but then again, people of colour are going to jail, are not bonding out, are not getting
The slap on
bail.
the wrist.
Fair treatment.
Not at all. And again, the same thing with the detention centre system. So that's different to what we see with incarceration. But with the detention centre experience, again, the disproportionate numbers in relation to what bodies are going into these detention centres, what bodies are able to get out again. It's not people of colour and it's not people from third world countries.
Beautiful. Look, our camera women, they're just
Yes, girl!
nodding along.
What about the suicide rates within the Indigenous community?
Yeah.
How high it is?
Yep.
And especially within the men as well.
How high the recorded rate is.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, and I did say that I'm an open book today. And again, thank you for feeling brave enough to ask me that conversation, to have this conversation. But it is a very, very touching one. And I do want to say that. So anyone that's listening to this, please understand that this is a very, very sensitive topic. And I feel like it's a real tragedy.
Yes.
So the numbers of suicides in Indigenous communities with men, with children and with women is just, again, through the roof. I believe it's, if you are under the age of 24, and guys, please feel free to Google or get your right statistics, but I believe if you're under the age of 24, you're 4.5 times more likely to commit suicide as an Indigenous person than a non-Indigenous. 4.5 times, and it may be higher. It may be 4.7 times more likely to commit suicide. Damn. So that is what we're dealing with in this country. No mental health services are being provided.
Yeah.
No homeless shelters are being provided. No drug rehabilitation. Absolutely just crickets in this country. And the reason why there's crickets is because this is what the government wants. It wants us to disappear with everyone knowing, without everyone else knowing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
It is craziness. It is. And any Indigenous person you yarn to, we've all been impacted. So we've all been impacted by suicide. We've all been impacted by police deaths in custody.
Yeah.
My parents have been impacted by this. Their parents have been impacted by this. So it's just generational. It just keeps happening. We keep dying. We keep dying. We keep dying. And irregardless of who our Prime Minister is, irregardless of who is in leadership, the one thing that stays the same is black people are going to jail. Black people are getting their children. And when I say black, guys, that's how we identify. So this is another another yarn.
Yes. To make clear.
Yeah, so BLAK, but I'm not going to get into that because I'm kind of going back to BLACK because that's what my parents identified as. Like, I don't need to drop a C to be anything else. Like, I'm black, point blank, period. So we identify as black in this country because when the British arrived, they were white and we were black. Yeah. And the reason why they create that is they will always be on the top and we'll always be on the bottom. Yeah. So we own it. So like the N-word with the Americas, that's our black. So black is equivalent to the N-word in the African American experience. Yeah. So we really own that. But like I was saying, generationally this keeps happening. Indigenous people have the solutions. So our communities can say, we need this now. We need a better health service. We need drug rehabilitation. Our youth have nothing to do. They are getting incarcerated in young ages and becoming institutionalized. They are homeless. 7, 8, 12 people are living in 2-bedroom apartments. They need housing. So our communities know what the answers are. But more so to that is they create amazing plans, amazing products, and provide this to the government. But it is just constantly just turned away, which again is indicative or showing the way that white supremacy is positioning First Nations people in this country, and it is a tragedy. Yeah.
Nods again.
Yeah, it's real out here, guys. It is not easy. Like I said, she's put together. You know, put like period, bitch. Think about AJ, bitch. Let me be crystal clear, bitch. You know what I mean? Your favorite Aboriginal bitch. So don't come for me. But let me tell you, you have no idea. They have nobody. You will scroll on my feed. You will never know. You know, and that's why I'm so proud to be creating content for black fellas. And then if other people are like, oh my God, like I'm into this, they're into it. But if you're not, because I want black people to look at my content and be like, you know what? We fucking got this. You know what? Fuck, we're going to fight it out for the rest of my life. I'm going to, you know, show this country, you are not getting away with this. You are not going to silence me. I'm not going to just lock my door and pull the blinds down and just be scared of you. I'm going to give you everything that I have, but most importantly, I'm going to be fucking fabulous, bitch.
Yes.
How can I help you? I said, how can I help you? And if I hurt a few people's feelings along the way, if I offend a few people, maybe they're people of colour or maybe they're white, I don't care. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it.
Yes.
And hopefully, even with yarning with you guys and other people that will watch this, if someone is racially stereotyping you, or if you are being, you know, treated like shit by the police and degraded, or if it is a white person at your job, or even if it's not, even if it's your own people, right? Understand why that is happening to you. That is not you. That is not even them. There's an overarching push behind that encourages us to treat each other like that. So, white men stay on top.
Yes.
Is there a boo button?
I know. God.
It's this one.
Oh.
Close enough.
I'm here for it. You should have used that earlier. God damn it.
We should have got you over here.
I know.
Should have been like, do we want to read out the questions that we got on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we want to get into that?
Awesome.
Yeah, do you? It's up to you.
You can give it to me if you want.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh, can I just ask one question?
Yeah, I've actually got a few.
Yeah.
Ask away, guys.
Those then.
What's it called? Yeah, so I was watching a bit of one of your podcast episodes about Australia Day. Since you were just talking about
this is
offending.
exactly what I was going to bring up.
Oh, yeah, me too. I was going to bring it up. I was like,
Yeah, when white people or ask you about, oh, what are you doing for Australia Day? How do you kind of gauge on like how much to give? Like, should it be like real blood, or do you kind of hold back?
Oh, for me or for you guys? Like
for you, when people ask you, yeah.
So me as a First Nations person, a white person has never asked me that because I'm not brave enough. But in saying that, I guess I do get asked other questions though, like around it. Like, what are your thoughts on Australia Day? First of all, honey, I'm trying to earn an income. Like, this is my job, or I'm at the playground, or I'm, I might have one of those too. Right?
yeah. I'll open it for us.
That's my favorite. So like, I'm at the playground. Like, let me just chill with my kid. Like, just let me live my life. So if I'm at the playground or I'm wherever I may be, respect that, like just chill.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that even with other people of color, or I've met people that are from the Islamic community, and they feel like, you know, because they're Muslim, people get to ask them, oh, what do you think about, you know, 7-Eleven? Like, what do you think about wearing the hijab?
Yeah.
Like, I literally, guys, and the university I went to, the university I go to, is like notoriously racist. So a lot of these experiences happen in places where people are supposed to be educated. But I just think if someone is trying to ask me about Australia Day, what I would say to them is Google that shit, bitch, because I'm not here for it. I'm not here to educate you. I'm not your mother. I'm not your teacher. And if you don't know why that's a problem, like if you don't understand why that's insensitive, that is saying something about you. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about people just ask that kind of don't know the history, like, oh, what are you doing for Australia Day?
Yeah.
How do you take that? And, yeah.
I think exactly right. It depends how someone asks me, but if they're like, oh, what do you think? I'd be like, you know what? Like, that's a really sad day for me. And I tell them what I'm doing. So, like, I'm going to a protest. I'm going to Yarbin, and we're going to chill and celebrate my survival. And I tell them, I'm like, this is a park. This is the time. Come along. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm going to experience this.
Yeah. And I wouldn't get angry, because I feel like that's the other thing people always like, I don't want to offend, I don't want to make you angry. It's like, how do you know what I'm going to be? You're already assuming I'm going to be angry before you ask me the question. So, yeah, I'll just literally yarn to them and be like, come along to the park, there's kids' activities, like, come and chill. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
I forgot, like, what my question... I know my question, but I'm forgetting the words, like,
That's okay.
of how to put it together. With Australia being the only Commonwealth country to not have... What's the word I'm looking for?
A treaty.
A treaty, yes, that's what... How would I not know that? Especially today being Waitangi Day as well.
And
How do you feel about that? Oh, no, actually, my question was, do you ever feel that there will be a treaty down the line?
I think that's an amazing question. The fact that we haven't had a treaty and white people have been here for so long. And anyone that's listening to this, and if you get offended by the word white, you're a problem. Okay?
Yes.
You're going to be white as long as I'm black.
Yeah.
Okay, until everyone in this country starts respecting me as a First Nations or an Indigenous woman, you're going to be white. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
And so that's that. But the second point is, we have not had a treaty in this country because this government refuses, and its peoples, citizens, everyone, everybody, refuses to recognise the rights to ownership that Indigenous people have over this land. Okay, so I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're one generation or if you've been here for 12, you are not supporting in the ways that you should. Because if you were, we would have had a treaty.
Yeah.
You know, so there's so much truth behind that. And I'm tired of it. People think, well, I support Indigenous rights. Do you?
But do you really?
Do you really? And if you do not, like what you guys are doing right now, being brave enough to come and sit down at a table and have a yarn, that is how we're going to get there. Yeah. That is how we're going to get a treaty, is by people yarning, people realising that we're people, but most importantly, recognising that we have been here for like over 1,600 generations on this continent. That's what the 65,000 years breaks down to. By recognising that is how we start getting a treaty, because a lot of people think things are structured from the government down, but in reality it's the people. The people have to lead the change. The people have to be bothered enough to not want to keep going along the same path. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's a great thing having these convos.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are just uneducated.
Exactly.
Especially not being taught in school.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be taught way more.
Yes.
Like, honestly, like what did we learn in school? Japanese.
Yeah,
That's right.
Japanese, Italian, like all of these other countries, like respect to them, but like
100%.
whose land are we on?
Yes,
like, and there's like
100%.
how many languages within
Yeah.
Australia's like the biggest.
We've got like
right?
200 languages, I believe, and over like 1,000 different dialects.
Yeah.
So it's insane, and every different area, like wherever the school is, has a choice of language to use. But again, and re-education, guys, so we can say, oh, we're not learning enough in school. So don't think I'm I'm being grumpy, but we can say we don't learn enough in school, but that's our responsibility to learn.
To learn.
You know what I mean? Because the school is not going to grow you up to understand the impacts of alcohol. You know, they're not going to teach you that or the impacts of smoking, or the impacts of domestic violence at home. They're not going to do that because the school doesn't give a fuck. You know, they don't care what it's like for poor people. Well, poor people, they don't understand nutritional value of food. All they want to do is feed as many faces and as they can, and make sure their children go home, go to sleep with a full belly. They're not going to teach you about, you know, the limited understanding of poverty in this country because they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? That makes sense. When have they ever? And will they ever? And we can't wait around for that, you know. We can't wait around for schools to start caring about us, if that makes sense. And I guess it's up to those people in the decision-making capacity to be like, we want to put First Nations people as priority, but like I said, I'm not holding my breath. Nope.
Yeah, it definitely should be taught. Because I remember I went to New Zealand a couple of years back, and they had like a kind of, you know, play school, but like a New Zealand version, and they were speaking Maori on it.
So amazing.
Yeah. Maori. Yeah, they were speaking, and I was like, what the hell? Why don't they do that here? It's such a cool thing. Even my dad growing up saying that they had to learn the language, the native language.
So powerful. So there's a lot to learn from New Zealand, let's put it like that. But in saying that, a lot of the same statistical stuff that Indigenous people go through here, the Māori are going through the exact same thing. Exact same thing. Incarceration, homelessness, drugs, loss of culture, loss of community, loss of kingship, identity, all of that. They're going through the exact same shit. And that is what colonisation wants. But in saying that, they're very lucky because they have one, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but one language, so they're able to share. Are you Māori? Yeah. So you can powerful. And even how you're saying, like, I'm not 100% sure. That's exactly how I feel about my own culture. Like, that's how I feel about my own language. And the reason why we're not 100% sure is because of white people. They have prevented us from knowing what was happening here, what was happening there. Yes. But we're left with the short end of the stick, so we're left feeling shit. Oh, I'm sorry I don't know how to speak my language. Or I'm sorry I know how to speak it fluently, bitch. I don't know how to do that. Or I'm sorry I don't know what my traditional marriage practices are. If you practice those practices, your children are being taken away, or you're going to be beaten, or you're going to be locked up in jail for speaking language. So there's a lot that this country needs to learn, but in saying that, it's our responsibility to learn it.
100%.
Yeah.
I just have a question. What's your thoughts on when people say or comment, what was I about to say? I just lost it.
It's okay.
So when they say, they needed, like, Aboriginal people need to get over it. Like, it wasn't us. Yeah, like, it was our, like, ancestors or something like that.
That's a big one. And it's an amazing question, and it's a fucking important question. That is exactly what every black person goes through in this country. Yeah. Point blank, period. So we have our most famous racial slurs. Yeah. So they are, you know, Aboriginal people are drunks. Aboriginal people are petrol sniffers. Get over it, you know. That is literally such a indication of, again, white supremacy. So a lot of black people are saying, or Indigenous people are saying in this country, what do you want me to get over? Like, everything we're talking about is happening contemporarily. Yeah. Removal of children, not being able to practice culture, imprisonment, incarceration, loss of our connection to the land, loss of our connection to water, homelessness, ripping us away from our land. So another thing I want to talk about, guys, was gentrification. So in the city where I grew up, so I grew up in like Erskineville area, close to Waterloo, close to Redfern. And when I was growing up, they were very tough areas. Like, they were very, very tough. A lot of poverty, but also a lot of a mob of people were in there. But as time has grown, and like that, a lot in America with New York and Harlem and places like that, as white people wanted to move into those areas, we just start getting dragged out. So you can't live in this apartment anymore. They are selling it. Housing is selling this too. Whatever. You can't live in this apartment. You have too many children. It's like, what? I've been living here for 10 years. I've been living here for 5 years. So now you're going to tell me I have too many children, and then they'll privatize the whole entire apartment block. And then that apartment block will be for white people or wealthy people in those areas, or they will knock down that apartment block and build brand new ones. So what you guys have to understand we are going through exactly what we went through with what the British arrived. We thought we were safe in our communities. We thought our children would grow up with other Indigenous children. We thought that they wouldn't have to deal with everything that is happening on the outside. 100%. But those communities are just being ripped out from underneath us. So that was a big thing I wanted to talk about, guys, is gentrification and what is happening in urban areas where Indigenous people are not allowed to live, where we have lived since colonisation. And it's very negative. Again, myself, I'm in the middle of Bankstown. Like we have an Indigenous community there, but it's not the community that I grew up in. Yeah. I cannot afford to live in Redfern. I cannot afford to pay the rent. And most importantly, I don't want my child to grow up there where, you know, she's around rich, elite white people and she's like the poor black kid in the child. I'd rather her be in a multicultural community like she is in Bankstown.
Love that.
But yeah, it's just very unfortunate what is happening to us today. So back to that whole idea of like, get over it. Bitch, what am I getting over? What am I getting over? Everything that I'm going is happening today.
Yeah,
you know,
and it's still gonna happen.
Yeah.
100%. So I can literally go away from here, turn this off. 2 days later, a black person is going to die.
Yeah.
You know, from being locked up in jail, or a black person is going to commit suicide tonight on a Saturday night, or a black person is going to be dragged and thrown in the back of a paddy wagon and get the shit beaten out of them, or worse. Okay, worse. We won't know. Nobody will know. You know, and our youth, it affects the most vulnerable. So people that have drug addictions, people that are mentally ill, children, young people, they are coming for our most vulnerable collectives. Or mothers, single mothers, you know, they are coming for us because they know that we are vulnerable. They are coming for us because they know that we are voiceless, you know, and that's why with my social media, I come so hard, because at the end of the day, I want other single mums at home who have to carry their child around, who have to take them to medical appointments, who have to go to the shopping centres, who have to take them to the park and do all that shit, so they can see me doing it, so they feel a bit stronger and a bit safer.
Yeah, I love
if
that.
that makes sense. Yeah, because we have a lot of black people that are locked away in their homes, and like I said, I was joking to you guys about how antisocial I am. I do not like eating in restaurants. Nope, wow. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. As well put together, or like I said, I could be coming up in a pair of motherfucking TNs, bitch. Yeah. I'll do what I want. I'm here for it, girl. I keep the kicks in here. I'm here for it, bitch. But you know what I mean? And once you get out of these areas, like wearing Nikes is like, oh my God, there's a brown person in a fucking
Yes.
Yes,
oh my
100%.
gosh. Like when I go to like where the beaches are and I'm just like in my TNs or Nikes, whatever I'm wearing.
Everyone's looking.
Yeah, everyone is staring and I'm like,
what's going on?
What's going on?
But now all the white people.
Oh my gosh, I was literally about to say that all the white bitches, white people, sorry. all the white bitches are jumping on
That's
it.
right though. And when we're saying white bitches, what we're talking about is practicing white supremacy.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's okay for you to wear TNs.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to wear maxis and fucking
But when
tights.
we wear it, we look like thugs. We look like criminals. Like
Really, it's a problem. Like we can't even exist. So I will not eat at restaurants unless it's like my larger family with me. I recently went on a trip to Wollongong with my cousin, and shout out to Miss Desiree Leha. How are we going?
Yeah.
In the building, Princess of Tonga and Aboriginal Australia. You know what's happening? Hey girl. But that's my cousin, so that's my sister. Like I feel so safe with her, and she understands it. And again, having a sister that is Tongan and Aboriginal, like growing up around them and their family, realizing, oh my God, like her Tongan family, like when they rock up to a restaurant, it's an issue. Or when her Tongan family, because we just meshed, so when her crew come to the movies, everyone's like, oh my God, like look at these islanders, like what the fuck? And then it's like she's with her Aboriginal family, it's like, oh my God, look at these Aboriginals. Or when we're all together, it's like, look at these islanders and Aboriginals. It's always a fucking problem. So we need to start recognizing that. But again, guys, back into me being antisocial, right? My antisocialness is to keep me safe. I don't like restaurants. I don't like bistros, so like things in the outside areas. I don't like going to unfamiliar shopping centers. I don't like luxury items or like jewelry stores. I don't like going into anything like that. Even like handbag stores or like glasses. I don't like any shit like that. Any shit where they think I'm gonna steal, which is everywhere.
Everywhere, especially at Myers. They literally follow me everywhere. And I'm like, they even said to my cousin, he walked in with a beanie and they were like, did you pay for that? And he was like, I literally walked in. So they had to watch the footage back and see if you
Oh
walked
my
in with
God.
it. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I can't stand the, yeah.
And that's disgusting that you can't even go into Myers, you know, as a person of color and not be racially stereotyped. And once we're all like, what the fuck is going on? Like, we can make changes because if you are another race in this country, if you are not a black or brown body, and I'm going to differentiate with blackness because Indigenous is like a different story. And that's really important that we recognize that. But we also have to understand other races, the lighter you get in this country, the more privilege you get. Point blank period. Point blank period. If you look like a white person in this country, you're right. You're not going to be racially stereotyped. You're not going to be followed around. But getting into that thing of what happened to you guys, that is just why I don't go to these places, because I'm tired. Like 28 years of this shit. Even in my mum's stomach as a baby, not even born, I'm already being racially stereotyped, being in a black woman's, you know, stomach or her womb. So we have to understand this shit. Even not even growing, the moment I was conceived from my mum and dad, I was a abo, I was a boom, I was a problem. And people in this country need to understand that. Not so you can feel sorry for me, not so you can pat me on my back, I'm so sorry. No, bitch. Recognize it. Recognize it, make a change. You know?
Make a change.
It's not good enough.
Yeah. And you know how you're so, you feel so strongly about all these things. Has it ever kind of affected you where you were kind of unfair on someone that was just from being paranoid, that was trying to do the right thing by you?
That is such a profound question, and thank you for asking it so sensitively and very respectfully, okay? Because that is how you ask a woman of colour a respectful question, or an Indigenous one, every fucking day. Every fucking day. Like, even you guys, like, if you would step to me on the street, I'd be like, period. Point blank period. I don't care if you're a Pacific Islander. I don't care if you're a white person. I don't care if you're Middle Eastern. I don't care if you're anything that is not Indigenous, right? My defense wall is up. I don't have time for it because I have been through so much shit in this country. And this is not all Indigenous people, but it's for a lot of us. I don't have time. I don't want to make friends. I don't want to go to your family's event. I don't want to, do anything like that just because I do not feel safe. I don't want to go in your home. And even how we're raised as well. So my parents' sleepovers were not happening. Going to the movies, like kids, how they do that around 15, 16, that was not happening. If it did happen, my mum had like a specific spot. Because as you guys know, in the shopping centres, they shut everything else down like on most movie nights. And then it's like, obviously the rest of the shopping centre's shut, but the movie's open. My mum would like make me stand right the fuck there until she came because she knew if we were seen as loitering, you're the back in the paddy wagon. Bye. They can literally throw me in there, do whatever they want, and that's exactly how it's described in this country. And it happens every fucking day. You're loitering, you're gone, your mother won't know where you are, they'll be calling, they'll be looking for you, and you'll be fucking severely traumatized. So I was always raised to be careful. I was always raised to be off the streets. I was always raised to be in my house. And that's the case for a lot of Indigenous people. And it has affected me negatively because I don't like making friends. I don't like getting out there. But through social media, like meeting you guys, I'm like growing, I'm blossoming and I'm feeling safer and more comfortable because AJ a year ago or AJ 2 years ago would never feel comfortable enough to do this. But we have to feel comfortable enough. We have to feel comfortable to make new friends and new connections because if I'm locked away in my house, you guys aren't going to get to know me.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel
so
like
cool.
way more privileged now to have you, like, especially after you explaining that as well. Like, I've heard a few people say that, but I didn't actually know how common it was for Indigenous Australians to feel that way.
It really is. And that's why we live in our communities, guys. So we have a thing called like an Indigenous community. And I'm sure it's just similar for other racial or religious minorities. But for us, it's very different. It's safety. So having black neighbours is like so important. Having a black bus driver for their kid to go to preschool is so important. Having a black Aboriginal liaison officer at the school or teachers or preschool
100%.
workers is so important. Because we experience so much racism, and the moment that we step out of it, we are reminded of who we are and we're mistreated and we're degraded. So it's horrendous. And like I said, guys, I could sit here all day, and I say it on my own content. I could tell you stories that you would be crying, like literally from my parents, but from myself. Right? But my trauma for Indigenous people in this country is something that we hold inside because That's another white lie. Talk about your trauma. Lay it out on the table. What is laying it out on the table going to do? Am I going to get a benefit? Is that going to make institutional change in this country? No, it's not. You're just going to feel sorry for me. I don't want a pity party. No, I don't want that. I want to say, that's so fucked up. I don't need you to say, that's so fucked up. I need you to say, let's make fucking change.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. 100.
Yeah.
Man.
And oop.
Like,
period, bitch.
I fucking love.
I'm done.
I'm not even lying. Since we started this podcast, this by far is my favorite.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
much, and I
favorite.
love your work, guys.
Oh,
And
thank you.
even saying that, it's so important. And I do want to talk about it, about the race relations and tensions that may be between Indigenous people and Pacifica or communities, or even that of Melanesia. It is so important that we have these conversations.
Yes.
We cannot pin each other up against each other. We cannot pick or choose. We cannot be, you're my mate when you're on the football field, or when your missus marries me. We can't do that. You have to accept us for who we are.
100%.
You have to accept the most vulnerable. So you have to accept the drunk. Like, if you're going to accept me, you have to accept the drunk. You have to accept the person that is really going through a hard chapter. Because that's the other thing that white people love to do, is pick and choose the best Aboriginal.
Yeah.
And I just don't ever want to contribute to that. So if you like me now, you better like me when I'm in my motherfucking teens, bitch's hair in a bun, bitch. Okay? My reading glasses on, girl. My reading, I'm like bundled like you are. Yup. How can I help you? And my hair is a bun. Like, back away. You have to love me. Because if you don't love me like this, you can't. And even in saying that, guys, I want to make another point with my content. If you look at my TikTok feed, sometimes I'm in makeup, sometimes I'm fabulous, sometimes I look like shit, sometimes I'm burnt out, sometimes I
That's
have
how
back.
it is.
Do you know what I mean? And as women, when you guys know what I'm talking about, I strategically present myself in certain ways because I don't want Indigenous women to think, oh my God, she has $100 nail she's put together. She has an outfit. You're gonna see me however the fuck I want to be. I'm gonna swear when I want to swear. I'm gonna talk like a white person when I want to, but I want to show Indigenous people you don't have to look like this to be a success. You can look like whatever you want to look like. And if you have the hair together, the outfit, the makeup, or if you don't, you are still fucking valid.
Yeah. I love that.
Love it.
Sorry, 2 seconds. Someone's just knocking real quick.
No problem.
So we're just gonna.
Oh, someone's knocking. I was like, what's going on?
I'm gonna have some water.
Yeah. How? Oh God. Is Alfie out there?
Is that my cab driver? Oh, tell him it's going a bit longer than today. Sorry, tell him I have to cancel. No, don't apologise. I just texted. He just wants a cab fare. Huh? You said cancel. Yeah, thank you. I just texted him a time I thought when I finish. Wow, he thinks he's a fucking Uber. Chill, bro. Seriously, is that $12 really worth it? No. I do not. What people out here don't use taxis? Damn. Bitch, I'm from Bakestown. How can I help you? 13 cabs, bitch. But even Ubers. So Ubers, I don't fuck with Ubers. Nope, I will not get in one. I don't feel comfortable. Once you're in their vehicle, they think they can talk to you. They think they can have a conversation, like offer you shit and judge you, bitch. Okay, so they feel like they have more power of driving away when they see you. We get a lot of racial stereotyping. Taxi. So the fact that my taxi driver came back here is to indicate to you how hard it is for me as an Aboriginal person to get a taxi.
Yeah.
I haven't never thought of that.
So that's another racial stereotype.
Yeah. Bitch.
2 seconds.
Let me answer it. Was that the cab driver?
And then it's Alfie.
Then it's
I
probably
don't know,
Alfie.
that was a hard
Oh
knock.
God, please stop my door.
Cut you out, it's
Yeah.
alright.
That was such a dramatic crawl.
Sorry, it went longer than expected. I apologize, sir. Yeah. Okay. So what do you want me to do about it? Okay. Okay, I'm in the middle of an interview. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you. Goodbye. I'd be treated like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I was a white person, but most importantly, do I look bothered? No.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
You
Like-
certainly weren't.
That's what I mean. The treatment that we get
Oh
from...
yeah, she would have been like.
Yeah, but honestly, but the treatment that we get as First Nations people in this country, and again, you guys just witnessing it, is indicative of our positioning in this country, if that makes sense. And we're constantly reminded every day of not being important, not being a customer, not being valid, not being appreciated. So I think, again, guys, whenever we are trying to understand the positioning of First Nation people, understand what it's like on an every single day, if that makes sense.
Like we literally just
What did he ask?
He was just like, "Oh, do you need a lift back?" And I was like, "No," because I told him I'd be an hour roundabout to get back to Penrith, and I guess he just thought he would wait.
Did anyone ask you to wait?
No. He's like, "Oh, you're not an Uber, bro, chill." Anyways. But again, guys, that's the treatment I get every single day. So yeah, if it's like Kmart, if it's Myers, if it's a playground, or if it's a preschool, people make judgments about our positioning in this country. So yeah, understand that. And if you are a person, because most of the people that listen to your project are probably people of colour. So recognize that you too have to undo what you've been told about us and understand the truth behind it, if that makes sense.
Yes, 100%. There's a lot of learning that a lot of our people need to do as
Yeah,
well
a lot.
for First Nations people, and especially First Nations Aboriginal women as well. Like they should be acknowledged 100% because just like women in every culture, they're always put second to the man.
Yes.
Yep.
Sorry.
It's true though. Yeah, it's true. And there is a lot of that. But again, guys, why is it like that? It's often a big impact from colonization.
Yes.
Because white people and white societies always position men as authorities. Men are the leaders. Men are the... No. That is often a white man's concept. But again, it's so important to have conversations around misogyny or men or, you know, homophobia or genophobia, any what it may be, or xenophobia, whatever it may be, understanding why these conversations need to be had and understanding what perspective are you coming from. Because my perspective is not going to be the same as yours. It's not going to be the same with anybody in this room, and we need to start understanding that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
If, for situations like that, like, is it hard to gauge whether like he just wants money or like racism? Is that like always kind of unclear?
It's always
or like
unclear.
you like, you know, because it's so common all the time, every day.
Yeah, it's a great question to have. It's a great question, but really it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. You know, if I sat there and analysed it my whole life, I would not be anywhere. You know, I'd be worried what the next person thinks about me, if that makes sense. But that is such a normal human reaction, is to think, how does it make you feel? Or what do you think about it? But when you're black, move it. Next. Because I have learned, again, at that 14 or 13 years of age when I was growing up, is am I going to allow this to happen to me, or am I going to react in a way that's going to call for change or call for recognition? Because you can be a racist, you can stay a racist, but what's going to happen is I will call you out and I will let you know what time it is, because it's okay for everyone else to do it. It's okay for everyone else to be like, you're doing this to me, you're doing that to me, but as soon as Aboriginal people start doing it, get over it.
Yeah.
Nice.
How can I help, bitch?
Yeah.
On my period, bitch.
Yeah, and it's so sad the judgment the Aboriginals get or the Koreans get, because people don't think and emphasize on what's it called, the oppression that's been going on for so long, and they're just like, nah, get off the alcohol, like.
That's right.
But they don't understand the system that's against them, and just society, the way. Like a lot of coloured people get looked down upon.
That's so true.
But
It's a perfect statement, you know, try to understand it and understand what happened 230 something years ago when the British arrived. Because if you don't understand it, if you don't know what happened, how are you going to understand where we are today? If that makes sense.
yeah, everyone has to do their own homework.
That's it. Give it a Google. You'd be surprised. There's Indigenous websites. There's Indigenous blogs. There's Indigenous people on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. We are out there with the content. You have access to that information.
It's up to you
If
you
you
want, to learn.
it's up to you, boo. It ain't up to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
On speaking on like with all the Indigenous creators. Do you want to name a few?
Oh, nice.
Okay, let's do this. So, we have my sister on TikTok, How Do I Delete One? We have on Instagram, a big follower of mine that I absolutely love is Dancing Water. She is an Indigenous singer-songwriter. Also on Instagram, we have, oh my God, can I have my phone? Yeah, because I know these people's first names, but I don't know their names, their Instagram names. But there are so many. So there's Dancing Water. Just let me get the names, guys, because I don't want to butcher them. And how about I send you guys a list as well?
Yes.
So if any of you guys are
sure.
interested in my like top TikTokers, I will let you know. So some of the people that I love to follow is, like I said, Dancing Water, Black Business, which is a cousin of mine. Yes.
I love them. They always show love.
I know, it's so powerful as
Yes.
well over there, what's happening. We also have... we have my sister girl CJ Vine, so she's very big on Vine. She's absolutely hilarious on the
Shout out.
memes.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
We also have my sister girl Ginny Girls Gang. So she makes Indigenous painted or themed pieces of merchandise. So you can buy a hoodie or you can buy a painted jacket, which is amazing. We also have some of my favourite rappers, which is Barker. She's a Bark and G artist. We also have Dobby. We also have Nookie. He's an Indigenous rapper as well. But like I said, I'm going to link you guys.
Yes,
I'm going to
and we'll
send you
pop it up.
Yeah.
some of my favourite TikTokers because just hilarious.
Yes, we love that.
Yeah, and we like to keep it underground as well. So I'm going to link you with the place where it's at.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
please.
okay.
I feel like underground, that's where I thrive. Like in every genre of like music, movies and everything, they've always been my favorites. Have always been the underground thing.
I'm here with it. I'm here for it.
Yes.
Okay. Are we going to go through? Oh, you go.
Yeah, I just wanted, since you mentioned TikTok, do you want to kind of talk about getting shadow banned and all that kind of stuff?
Yep. So I have gone through shadow banning before, but also shadow banning of specific videos and specific content. So if I'm talking about a topic that is very controversial, or if I'm talking about a topic that is not often discussed, like genocide or racism or rape, my video just won't be viewed. So my video will just literally be shadow banned, but again, it will be deleted. So there's been a big problem over on TikTok is deletion of our content. And again, no discussion, so we're not able to inbox anyone or yarn about it. But in saying that, guys, if you see Indigenous content online, hit it with a like, give them a follow, you know, just those small things like you guys, again, being grassroots guys. For you, you may just think, oh, well, I'm just one person. You and your support means so much.
Yeah,
makes
honestly,
sense.
it goes a long way.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
What is that?
Sorry, guys, I just got to check my cousin because it's even my baby.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's okay.
She's
Whenever you
giving
need a
them
break,
hell.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they said everything is all good.
Oh.
That second knock.
I know, if that man came back again, I'm calling the police, bitch.
Nah, he's getting pumped right here.
Oh, yeah. I was,
Yeah, freaking knock so hard,
yeah, so
man.
it was
Bruh.
like,
I just what are we going to do about it? Do you want money? Alright, we're all good. She's all fine.
oh, sweet, that is.
Do you guys want to see what my daughter looks like?
Yes.
Let's do a
Wait,
photo.
what did you say, sorry?
I said, do you want to see what my daughter looks
Oh
like?
my god, yes!
Okay,
I'm so
so if you guys follow me on Instagram 8983AJ, you will see she is a diva, but that's her. That's her and I making cupcakes.
Oh my god, she is
Beautiful.
gorgeous.
Thank you. I'm just gonna
She's
say.
so beautiful.
I'm like one of those moms, but again, guys, so like on my YouTube channel, I'm trying to do things like making cakes with my daughter and making gingerbread houses because these representations of black mums with their black children, we don't see it. You know, it's always, oh, this Indigenous mother has her child removed, or this is happening, or the kids are on the street like going crazy or ape shit. We're not knowing why they're going ape shit. We're not knowing why the kids are on the street because they're in the community and their aunties are all over the street. We don't get any context. But what I'm trying to do is give you fucking context, bitch.
Yeah.
Point blank period.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired.
Period.
We need to do a mukbang eating Aboriginal food.
Oh my god, I can cook it. We can have damper, we can have scones.
Oh my god,
Oh my
yes.
god, we have like, okay, so we have Western food, but we bring a twist to it. So we have like, goddamn, have you guys ever had Silverside?
Yes. Oh my gosh, Silverside.
So Silverside, it's like another white name, but we call it Silverside. So it's like a meat, like it's a beef, but it's like cured, and then we boil it up. And you can do so many things different with it. So you can cut it, you can like put it in the fridge, you can have it on the damper, you can have a meal. So there's like so many different meals. We also have curried mince.
Damn, I'm getting hungry.
So we have to do it, and like we have very Western foods. So but we remake them like indigenous, if that makes sense. So like old English stuff, but we have to get into that. But we also have indigenous food. So we have indigenous jams that are made with like our berries and our spices. We have ice creams. So they're obviously ice cream, but they've got like a macadamia nuts or like different seeds and things mixed into them. So we're gonna do a mukbang.
Oh my gosh.
For that.
And what about you? You better bring some food for your culture along. I'm here for it.
I won't cook it, but I'll buy it.
Hard out.
Boy, yo, so I'm so
I can't
down.
even think of any because I'm vegetarian, so like yeah, like so a lot of Māori eat a lot of meat.
Sorry.
But I'm easy.
Easy breezy.
I eat fish.
I love it.
Yeah. And do you have anything you kind of would recommend to everyone to maybe try out?
Yeah.
One of your
Food-wise?
favorites, or
Let me really think about it.
Yo.
Okay, so one of my favorite meats is kangaroo tail. Okay, so don't go hard with the emu. Like, don't do that. It's a very strong, it's a very heavy, very gamey meat. So it's like you know, like quail and stuff like that. Like they're birds, obviously, but they have a very strong taste. So don't go with the emu. It's very fatty as well as very game. Go with kangaroo. So the tail of a kangaroo is very juicy. It has bones along it, so it's kind of like a shoulder piece that you kind of get with like a pork or something like that. It's got a lot of the flavor. So the way we cook it is they chop it up. There's so many different ways to make it. So you can individually chop it up and then kind of put it in a big stew. But my favorite way is they literally chop it, obviously wash it all. They can put seasoning or no seasoning. So it's like a very traditional base. They wrap it up in foil. You don't need butter. You don't need oil because it has enough fat in it. Wrap it up in foil, dig a hole, put it in the ground with some hot coals, cover it over.
I want to go eat it now.
Me too. But you do not need any salt. You do not need any. You can add it if you want to. AK, my dad cannot live without salt. He'll just be
Oh my god.
chill, bro. Like chill. Like
That's like
honestly,
my parents.
literally. And the pepper.
Always love it.
Why do you need that much fucking pepper? But you just literally peel it open, so the skin at that point can just be pulled right off and eat it. It's a very lean meat, very high in protein, very low in fats. But again, different parts of the kangaroo have different amounts of fats. So if you're trying to eat a leaner diet, or if you need more of those fats, you're able to do that. So it's just
Yeah, we definitely sort that out.
yeah. I'll let you guys know if I can lick you up the kangaroo tails. Period.
Are you gonna cook it?
Oh, right. Of course I'm going to cook it. No.
Oh my god! Vlog cooking kangaroo tails. I have no fucking idea. So I'll be like FaceTiming. Dad, save me! These people hate me. I'm failing as an Aboriginal. It'd be so funny. But we do the same thing with fish. So we, I'll get a lot of our fish and we wrap it in the foil and steam it in the ground or things like that. But again, another big part of our diet is flour. So we can, because that was a staple that was given to us when colonization happened. They gave us all certain amount of things. So there was sugar, flour, and tea. And we were forced to eat those things. So we make so many different things out of flour. You get like a fried scone, but then you can get a baked scone. You can get a damper, which is like a loaf of bread, I guess. And that's cooked in the oven. So many different
bread.
I love carbs.
I love carbs.
I was about to say, we can just do a whole mukbang on fucking flour, bitch.
Yeah.
Now here's a fried scone. Here's a baked scone. Here is damper. Here is a savoury damper. Here is sweet damper. Here is pumpkin infused damper. I'm telling you, it is off chops.
I'm down. I love food.
But again, it shows how much and how quickly we had to adapt, given this foreign substance that is bad for you, you know. But learning how to use it, be really smart with it, really inventive, and it's like soul food, bitch.
We need a soundbite for one of our buttons here.
I'm here for it.
Say, bitch.
Period, bitch.
I want that as a ringtone, bitch, 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 bitch.
Pick up, bitch, 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 bitch.
bitch.
Not gonna help you, bitch.
I'm here for it. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Okay, should we jump into these questions that
Yeah.
we're supposed to jump in about half an hour ago?
I'm here for it.
I love it. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
god. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna keep it anonymous.
Yep.
But shout out to those who wrote in.
Yes,
Yeah.
honestly,
Shout
shout
out.
out. Like, there's a lot of questions, and like, we are so grateful that
Yep.
everyone wanted to ask these. But here is the first one. It is. Could you teach us some words from your language or languages?
Oh, nice.
So cool.
Yes.
And I love that they said languages because, as I stated earlier, guys, I belong to 4 tribes. So my dad has 2, then my mum has 2. So one in my mum's language is like watamuli. So that can be like a greeting or a goodbye. So that means like hello, but it also means goodbye. I think it's a bit like, it's not Hawaiian. What's the language where it's the same word for goodbye and hello?
Yeah, I think it's
It
Hawaiian.
might be Hawaiian. But yeah, so that's watamuli. And then in my dad's language, we say nai. So nai is hello.
Aye.
Nai, yeah. And
What
then
was the first one again? Sorry.
watamuli.
Watermelon.
Watamuli. So we say watamuli, and it means like, hey girl.
Yeah, okay, watermelon.
bitch. Oh my god, I hate myself. I'm gonna go home like, how many times did you say fucking bitch?
Let's do a count.
If I like any of my relatives saw this, I'm like, she is fucking shameful. She's cancelled, goddammit. But yeah, and then let's get into some animals. So barndul is fish. So barndul.
Barundu.
Barndul. Perfect, we're here
Yep.
for it.
Hey.
Okay. And then dolta is kangaroo.
Dolta.
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 Dolta. So in different dialects, that's what makes it really tricky is different indigenous languages. We all have our own dialects, so it's really hard, but you guys are doing great. And this is Barkanji. So this is Barkanji. So Barndu Dolta. Tuli is a like a type of goanna, so tuli. So it's like a lizard. Tuli. What else is there? My Barkanji is so shit. We have Billura. So Billura is like an eagle in the sky.
Let me try that. How do you say
Yes,
it?
Billura. Oh my god, it's a hard one, so don't feel
Yeah.
bad. I'm trying to like break it down. So
Bill?
Bill, ya,
Yeah.
Yeah.
ra.
Oh,
Bill
Bill
Yara.
Yara.
Perfect. Yes, that's it.
Hey.
Okay, that's enough now for the Barkagee lesson. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm a goddamn plastic Barkagee.
Thank you for sharing. So, next question.
Do you have more for the other 3?
Oh,
No. So that's yeah, no, but that's
she
it.
said she's tired.
I'm tired now. I'm not an encyclopedia, goddammit. Where's my Google Translator, bitch?
I'm like trying to move on, and he's like,
Goddammit, you want 4 languages? I'm tired.
so is that Nipsey Hussle picture. He's tired.
He wants to join us.
Oh my god.
I'm done. Okay. Where do you feel the most as a nation? What?
Oh.
Where do you feel the most as a nation we're not supporting our First Nations with? Okay. Did you get that?
No.
I didn't get that either.
No.
Next. Why do you feel white Australia? No. We already went through that. What are your dreams for your land and people?
Ooh, nice.
That's a
Good
great
question.
one. Can you say it again?
Yes. What are your dreams for your land and people?
Wow, that's an emotional one. So I like it's so emotional with these types of questions. So just let me think about it. Oh, it's so emotional. I told you I'd be crying here, girl. For me, my dreams would literally be equal rights.
Yes.
Okay, so I just want us to be equal as everybody else in this country, but also recognition of First Nations rights. So recognize that we have connection to this country, we have connection to the ocean, we have connection to water, we have connection to each other, okay? You cannot just keep dragging us around wherever you see fit. You can't just keep making policies about whatever you think needs to be made, okay? We don't want that anymore. We want to be at the table, but we also want to be able to make those decisions. And when I say we, we're not talking about leaders from Indigenous communities. I'm talking collectively, okay? So we need to go to these communities. We need to talk to the mamas, talk to the daddies, talk to the grandpas, the grandmas, the children, the youth, the single mums, the mentally ill, the people that are locked up. We need to talk to them about what they want. And when we hear locked up, guys, well, you may think, man, Indigenous women are the largest and the fastest growing jail population in this country. Indigenous women. Okay, and if you wonder why the fuck I don't go outside, if you wonder why I don't meet new people, because I can't be tried, honey. Because I can't do that. I can't go to prison. I can't commit a crime. I can't get bodily harm or grievous bodily harm or an assault charge or whatever it may be, whatever the police may or the judge may feel like throwing at me. Okay, I cannot do that. So that's what I would like to live in, a world where I don't have to worry about catching a case because someone wants to try me. And you may think, oh my God, that's so fucking thrilling. Like, no, bitch, it's fucking depressing. It's very, very toxic. So that would be my thing, is just being able to feel safe. If something were ever to go down, a security guard would believe me. A police officer would believe me. The people in the room would want to protect me as an Australian citizen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yes.
Thank you.
Why do you feel there is a misconception about the First Nations?
I feel like there's a misconception because the government has strategically made decisions in this country to prevent people from truth revealing, from the realities of what we go through. You do not know what we go through because we have been beaten into silence. Yes. We have been told to shut your mouth, keep your head down and do what the fuck you need to do. If that's working in cattle stations, if that's being domestics, if that's working in hospitals, if that's even contemporarily me working in a job for the government, me working in an Indigenous organisation, I have been told just to shut my mouth, you know, and continue on with being a djinn in this country and do that silently, you know. And people may look at me and be like, oh, she's fabulous, she's beautiful, she's great. Or they may not. She may think she's a fucking extra, she's too much, she's too loud, whatever it may be. But underlining characteristic is she's black. I can be skinny, I can be fat, I can be quiet, I can be loud, I can be funny, I can be stale, I can be dry, I can be whatever you want me to be, but I will always be Aboriginal. And that's not the way it should be. You should see me as a human being.
Yeah.
100%.
Great answers.
I'm good, so I was probably going to say probably 10 more minutes.
Yeah,
Thank
course.
you guys.
Yeah, I'll just ask one more and
You're
then we
amazing.
can like
Wrap it,
Yes.
let's see. Ooh, what was that? We've pretty much like gone through all of the
Awesome.
questions like throughout the podcast.
Awesome.
Is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Again, just want to say thank you to all of you guys for having me and making me feel so comfortable. And I want to say to all of our listeners, and I guess say to all of you in the room, as everyone in the room being a person of colour, connect to our ancestral ties. You know, so connect to who we are, not what they want us to be. You know, so if it's the Nikes, if it's the fucking Gucci, if it's the fucking Michael Kors watch, if it's the nails, bitch, whatever it may be, I can have all those things. That's great. We're not going to critique you or criticise you for what you like, but what we will critique you and criticise you for is losing who you are.
Yes.
Okay? So connect to your culture, connect to the old people, the elders. And if they're problematic, if they're rude, they're toxic, move to the next elder. Yeah. Okay? We don't have to be like, oh my God, he's an elder. No, they're rude. They're whatever, you know. But find a way to connect to your identity, to your culture, decolonize, find out the ways that of your people, the way you guys used to live, the way, what it was life like for them, but also what's happening right now for all of us. We are experiencing police brutality. It is hard for us to get rentals. It is hard for our children to go to schools in areas that aren't coloured. It is difficult for us to go to Myers. It is difficult for us to go clubbing, you know, or go and get a drink at a bar. You know, why is this happening in this country, and why are we all not coming collectively to talk about it? Yeah. And if you are experiencing that, or even if you are another person of colour and what I have said tonight, or even if you aren't, even if you're a white person and you belong to a marginalised collective, draw strength from that, draw strength from hearing from other people, but also recognise that it's not right.
Yes.
Oh, love that.
Great.
Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Bad AJ, bitch. Point blank period, bitch.
Help you, bitch.
Oh, how dare you?
Oh gosh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Before we go, I just want to give our regular shout out. So shout out to $Stally who have made all
love
these
you,
beautiful
Stally.
artworks that you see on the background. Shout out to Greater West Barbers, our sponsors. Shout out to our camera women over there. Who will be there.
Thank you, girl.
Yes, I also want to give a shout out to James as well, who did send in one of those questions, but the other people wanted to be anonymous, but he didn't want to be anonymous.
Love you, James.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me,
coming on.
guys.
Really
Made me
appreciate
feel so welcome. And guys, if you are supporting these guys, please continue to do so. They are grassroots. They are supporting First Nations people in this country. It's not performative. It's real, bitch.
Yes.
Thank you, baby.
Okay, wait.